Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Work at Home Rockstar Podcast. Excited for today's guest. We are talking to the CEO of ASP, and what he does is he installs marketing systems for small and medium-sized businesses. So I'm excited to be rocking up today with Joel Keith. Hey, Joel, you ready to rock?
Let's rock.
Awesome. We always start off with a good note. Tell me a story of success that we can be inspired by.
Well, it would probably be me actually moving over to ASP. I had a marketing agency that I had started with another partner about probably 5 or 6 years ago now. We did pretty well, scaled pretty good within the first 2 years. Um, I was working a full-time job as a broadcast production technician. So working a lot of studio broadcast productions, live events. Had a really great job, a lot of really, really cool things we were able to do. But I just found so much more passion and fulfillment in doing video and content creation, photo creation, branding, and marketing. That agency was growing well, got connected with another agency, and had the opportunity to get acquired by ASP and step out on my own. So that would be kind of my success story, I guess, is it allowed me to leave my 9 to 5, even though I loved my job. I enjoy what I do now a lot more.
Well, and that's important, right?
Yeah,
You got to love what you do.
right.
Right on. So now, not everything is, sunshine and roses. Sometimes things don't go as planned on journeys, and I'm wondering, is there something that you could share with us, a mistake or a bad note that you hit?
Specifically in business, yeah. I mean, when after the merger, we hit a rough patch not long after. So there was this kind of looming fear of like, did I make a mistake leaving a good job with really, really good health benefits? I've got, 2 kids and a wife, and I got people that I got to provide for. Yeah, you got a mortgage, you got bills, you got car payments and things. And I had already taken a pay cut, stepping out on my own, and kind of losing benefits as well. So it's like, man, did I make a mistake here? Is this company going to make it and all this stuff? But, sticking through it, really working with a great team of people, at ASP, we were able to pull through. And now, the company is doing way better than we ever have before.
Wow. And it's interesting. I mean, I love that story because I think there's probably a lot of people that would be sitting in a situation maybe similar to that, where maybe they're okay with their job. I mean, if they hate the job, then they should leave. But if they're okay with their job and things are okay, but they're thinking this thing would be better, but they're
Mhm.
worried that they're gonna have to take a pay cut or that it's gonna like set them back a little bit or they might make a mistake you know, that's always a worry, and that might keep people in a position way longer than they should be. But I'm wondering, like, did you think that, like, how did you justify taking a pay cut, for example, to go to do something different?
Yeah, it's a great question. So at the time, my wife was a social worker, and she had just gotten a new job, and she was doing well for herself. So we were afforded the ability financially to be able to take that cut, and for me to step out. So I would say it's definitely one of those things. Like if you have a partner, they obviously need to be very supportive of your decision, but making that decision together for what's best for the family unit. If you're not married, you don't have a partner or whatever, and you're just by yourself, like, just leave the job. Like, you make the
Yeah.
mistake, even if it is a mistake, go make the mistake. Like you've got very little to lose. You're not worried about providing for other people. If it's just you, go step out and go do it. Like you'll be way better off for it, because if it doesn't work, you can always go find another job. But if it does work, you're going to be in a much better position, just with your own happiness and life and kind of how you're setting yourself up for the future.
It's just so funny that you say that, Joel, because if you're single, go for it, make the mistake. If you've got a partner, well, then that might even help you a little bit more too. As long as they're supportive, then at least they can kind of have that steady, paycheck while you go out there and try to figure it out.
Yeah.
And I think probably the the main I don't know if you agree, but the main thing is that if you're happy, if you love what you do, I mean, how can you not be successful eventually?
Yeah.
You're gonna have this huge why. You love doing what you're doing. You're okay with it, with struggling because it's fun, right? I mean, maybe
Right.
not fun, but you know what I mean. It's
Yeah.
fulfilling. So, you just hear these stories all the time of the people that are like, well, I would have loved to have done that. And you end up just not doing it because, oh, well, it was a bit of a risk. Was it though? I mean, if you really love what you're doing,
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with that. I see my father-in-law as a perfect example. Very hardworking guy. He's up there in age now, but he still constantly has business ideas. And he's like, well, what if we could do this? It's like the man can't walk, the man can't see, but he's got ideas and
yeah,
he wants to implement them. But what I've learned was a common theme over his life was there was all these ideas, but very little execution.
yeah,
And so now there's at the end of life seemingly regret from like, man, I wish I would have gone out and done this, or I could have done this, or we could have done, having these viable business options, right? But there was no, there was very little action to come from it. And I heard a quote one time, and it was something along the lines of the kind of the pain of sacrifice. If you're worried about the pain of sacrifice, wait till you get the bill for regret.
uh,
And it's like, man, I would hate to get to the end of my life and be like, man, I wish I would have done all these things. And now I physically can't, or I don't have the mental acuity to, or I don't have the time or finances or whatever. I'd rather make those mistakes when I was a lot younger in life and try things. And maybe one of them would be successful. And if not, then at least I can lay my head on my pillow at the end and say, I did my best.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, there are a lot of it's possible that you might fail, though. I mean, I think that that's
Yeah.
what the key is here is that yeah, it might not work, right? But what happens if it doesn't work? You dust yourself off and you go do something else,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yep.
why couldn't you just go back to the job that you hated in the first place?
Yeah.
Like, okay, so you lost a little bit of time, and now in the end, like you say, you won't have that regret anymore. Now it's
Yeah.
like, I tried, it didn't work. You don't have that thing in your head going like, what if I had done it right? You know?
Yep. Yeah, I had two photography companies with my wife before our third one actually like really took off. So keep that in mind is that like you may have the same idea that you stick with and you may fail at the same idea multiple times and then eventually one day it works. And I think honestly, it's Alex Hormozy talks about this a lot too. If there's any like business gurus that listen to him out there, but it's the amount of time that you put in. I think it's just being consistent and kind of embracing that suck in business for long enough and outlasting everyone else to push through to that spot where you're able to be successful in it.
Agreed. There's also market conditions as well. I mean, sometimes you might have this great idea that just doesn't work
Yep.
right now, but then all of a sudden something changes in the world, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, now's the time to implement this business idea. And you just might be ahead of the game and you're thinking, right?
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah, right on. So let's talk a little bit about getting fans, because I mean, this topic comes up quite often. I mean, the with social media and I mean, you can reach so many people, but I mean, there's a lot of noise out there. So
Yeah.
how do you like, it sounds so easy that, oh, just put a social media page together and put out some posts, but that doesn't usually work. Usually you get kind of crickets. So how do you make sure that people are actually like consuming your content or they're reaching out to you and you're getting business out of that?
Yeah, so I think there's two main factors, and I was actually talking with one of my business partners about this recently. I think there's two things to it. I think one is volume and consistency. Again, going back to consistently putting out content, regardless of kind of the metrics that you get from it. You got crickets, right? You got 10 likes here, you got a comment or here, there, or you got like 100 video plays or whatever it is. But if you stay consistent with it long enough, one's eventually going to hit.
Mm,
And I think the type of content too is more and more important. So now you have, again, speaking from a marketing background, there are a ton of people, companies, agencies, influencers that are hiring developers to create essentially AI agents that go and they build the content for them. They use AI to create the video, they use AI to create the images, and they push it out and they don't ever touch social media. Or it's very few and far between when they actually get in there. They might do some engagement or whatever, but a lot of this stuff is just automated now.
yeah.
Um, and I think that the type of content you put out that's more meaningful, that is more human based. This is why I think podcasts are doing so well right now, and podcast style content is because it's people like you and me getting on, having a conversation. And obviously the more divisive the content could be, the more friction that's in the conversation, whatever, you're going to get more views. But I think just the human element of it is going to become a premium. With AI being ingested into every area of business now, from the moment you call a business, you're talking to, an AI, voice salesperson on the other end of the line, all the way to automated emails and follow-ups and review requests and all of that stuff. When you're actually dealing with a human being, that I think is going to become kind of like a premium experience, and it's going to come at a premium price. So people that are putting out content like that, that have this human element, are going to do better. But I'll give you an example. I was actually looking just this morning. So I've got a client of mine who's a home inspector up in Washington State. And we post, he records a massive amount of videos on the stuff he sees from his home inspections. We post 6 days a week for him on TikTok. So across, over the course of a year, it's 340 something posts that he does. For the past 6 months, even with over 40,000 followers, for the past probably 4 to 6 months, most of his videos get between 2 and 500 plays, which is not a lot based on how many followers he has. But I looked yesterday, one hit, and within 24 hours had 25,000 views, had 300 comments, had like 700 likes. So it's popping off. And it's just that's happened over the course of the past year and a half working with him, where one just hits. And then all of a sudden you're back in the game. And now all your other videos are starting to go back up. And we've worked with him since he was at 300 followers on TikTok. And now he has, I think, almost 45,000. So it's just putting in the time, do the volume, put out as much as possible, and make it impossible for you to fail.
Wow. Yeah, that consistency is huge, right? And I mean, when
Yeah,
you think about it, if you look at the competition, how many of them are being that, persistent?
exactly.
It's hard. It's, if it wasn't
Yeah,
hard, then everybody'd be doing it, right?
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
everybody would be successful if it wasn't difficult.
Yeah, exactly. Now, how do you keep on coming up with new content then?
So depending on the client, so most of the clients that we have, our agency is specific to law firms and home service professionals. So home inspectors, plumbers, electricians, HVAC companies, things like that. Um, the content type between them can range very drastically, though. For example, like home inspector, the more crazy stuff that he finds doing home inspections, the better the virality of the video. So usually that stuff he can come up with pretty easily because it's just kind of like a discovery. Oh, this is crazy. These beams or these joists aren't even connected to the roof. How is there support? Let me take a video and explain as to why this is a big deal. But the common theme between all of them is, what value are you adding to the person watching it?
Mm,
Especially in home service businesses, that's a really big thing. The educational aspect of that is what creates people, it creates the desire for people to keep coming back and watching your content. What are they going to learn when they watch your content? What is now something that they can look for? When it comes to things like, for example, HVAC, your AC unit goes out in the dead of summer, that's kind of like an emergency service. You need someone to come out, but you're also this is an emergency service. I need someone out here ASAP because it's 90 degrees and I got kids and pets or whatever. They're going to charge a premium for it. How do I know I'm not getting taken advantage of? How do I know that the part they're saying is bad is even a real part in an HVAC unit? Like, am I being scammed kind of thing? But
mm.
adding this educational value allows my clients to inform their customers and then build a ton of trust and credibility with the clients.
Yeah, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. Like if you're doing something like this, it's almost like it's funny or interesting and also educational at the same time. So, you get people because I mean, out of all those views, I mean, how many of them are actually going to be clients? Probably not a whole lot. Some of
Right,
them are not even going to be potentially clients. They don't even own a house or whatever.
right,
However, the fact that it's something that's interesting to the average person who's not even going to be a client drives up those views and allows it to be seen by somebody else, right?
Yeah, and it's a brand awareness element. So they may not own a house and they may not have to worry about these things, but it's interesting to them because it's something they don't know because they're not a homeowner. However, their brother, sister, friend, whatever, they own houses and they're going to want to know this. So whenever something goes wrong and they're talking about it on the phone in conversation, be like, "Hey, I saw this guy. He's local actually, and he does all these videos and
Mm.
he's really good. You should call him. He seems to be really knowledgeable." So that's the idea behind it is that you're kind of building this big brand awareness and then you get the referrals based off of that content. So just a little bit different marketing approach than just direct lead generation, but it's still really effective.
Yeah, I love that. Let's talk a little bit about the band. So the people that you have around you. Like
Yeah.
how is your process of finding good people to work with, first of all?
Yeah. So when you're dealing with, I have three other partners in our business. So when you have partners, you have to make sure they're people that I think you can be friends with, people that you get along with. Um, I don't think it's until like really, really far up, like when you're really dealing in like private equity and things like that, where you don't really care who you're working with. You just want to make sure those people know how to make money, and then you make money, you flip the business, and then you don't talk to them again, right?
Hmm.
But when you're building a business with somebody, it's very different. There has to be a high level of trust in that individual that you're partnering with. Um, I'll say one of our partners, we met about a year and a half ago now. We've been working together ever since. He bought into the agency, but he's become a really good friend, actually. One of the things that he did early on was one of our first times meeting, because he used to contract with us for a while. But he came into town, we got breakfast and we had coffee, and he kept saying like, "Hey, I want to meet your family. Can we go to your house? I want to meet your family, meet your wife and your kids." And I was like, "Man, why does he keep pushing this?" And then eventually he's like, "Listen, I know I'm being annoying about this, and I know I keep asking you, but there's a reason behind it." And he's like, "Because I believe when you work in business with someone, you need to have their needs and their wants and desires in business and in life and their goals. That needs to be a part of your goals. And the same thing, your goals need to be a part of their goals. And if I meet your family, it helps me have a deeper connection with who I'm fighting for." And I was like, man, that like really, really hit me. And that has been kind of the filter I use for working with anyone is I want to know your family. I want to know you. I want to know what your goals are. And how can I make that a part of my goals to get us all there? A rising tide raises all ships, right? But I think that if you can have that perspective and you can have that level of trust in somebody that you're building a business with, that's really, really important.
I agree. Yeah, and that's brilliant advice, really. Because I mean, when you hear about people who have failed in partnerships, it is almost always just a lack of common vision, right? Someone's going this
Yeah.
way, someone's going this way. You get into a fight, you know, now what, right? But
Yep.
if the more you know that person or the closer you are to understanding what their why is, then the less likely it is that you're going to be actually the quicker you're going to realize you're not on the same path, I guess.
Yeah.
Right? Right. I mean, in one way, hopefully those whys like align. But I mean, hey, people change, things change, priorities change, things happen in people's lives. And if you know
Yep.
what's happening in their life, then you're more likely to say, okay, something's going on in my partner's life. They're going in this direction. Okay, we need to talk about this, right?
Yep. Exactly. And it's funny too, because I got advice early on, to never go into a business partnership with your friends.
Mm,
Because of like, if something does happen, they don't fulfill, then it like ruins your friendship. And I thought that was really good advice for a long time. And then I realized people that give that advice have shitty friends. Sorry, I don't know if we're allowed to swear on the podcast. Sorry. Um,
yeah.
but the quality of friend is going to determine how the quality of your business partner, in my opinion. So to me, I only want to do business with my friends. I only want to do business with people that I know because I know their work ethic. Again, I know their family. I know how much they want it. How does this play into their life goals and how aggressive are they being getting to those goals? And that's going to determine who I want as a partner.
It's really enlightening information, really, when it comes down to it. If you're looking at your friends and you're thinking, I wouldn't go to business into business with any of these friends, well then, isn't it, what is it? You're the average of the five people you spend the most
Yeah.
time with. That's your friends, and you don't want to go
Yep.
into business with them. maybe maybe you get the
Yeah,
wrong friends, right? You know,
hundred
I
percent.
would love to be in a situation where you look at your friends, you go, I would love for any of these friends to be in business with me, right?
Yeah.
That's the kind of friendships you want, right?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I know everybody's got kind of like their group text of friends, and I've got two guys that I've known for over 15 years. One of them's been my best friend for over 20 years. Um, and I'm constantly in the group text with them. They both have really good jobs working for other companies. One's a private pilot, another one works for a really good roofing company in Jacksonville, Florida, and they both do extremely well for themselves. But I know both of them are like, I really want my own thing. My buddy who's a pilot, like he just had a kid a couple years ago, and he's gone flying for 2 weeks at a time every single
Wow.
month, and he's just like, man, I miss my kid. So I'm constantly like, dude, when are we starting a business? When are we starting a business? Like, you both are killers. Like, let's start a business. Let's do something together. Imagine three guys who are complete, like the tightest of best friends. We all know each other's family and have known them intimately. We've all been, in each other's weddings or at each other's weddings. Like, we know each other's family in depth. Like, why wouldn't we be in business with one another? Why wouldn't we all try to figure out how we can achieve the lifestyle we want, whether that's making money or, buying a house somewhere or just being comfortable or owning my own schedule. Uh, like you got to go out and do it. You got to find those friends that you can do that with.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that I think that probably the fear would be that, like we just talked about, I mean, priorities change. Maybe there ends up being a situation where one of those friends is going through something and it has to dissolve the business, or you can't hold up, some certain end of the bargain or whatever it happens to be. And I can get that. I can understand that that would be tough on both the friendship and the business. However, I think about it, if that were to happen to me and, if one of my buddies was going through something, I would want to help him. I would understand that. I,
Yeah.
I would think that well, I know him, I know his family, I know he's a good person, I know all that stuff. So if something's going on, I would want to try to figure out, if he needs to leave, he needs to leave. Like, I can't
Yeah.
imagine that really hurting my friendship with him, knowing that he's a good person, right?
Yeah.
However, I get that it would really make the business tough. But you know what?
Yeah.
What's different? I mean, if I didn't know the guy, and that same thing would have happened. It still would have been
Yeah.
difficult. What's I mean, things happen, and things happen in business, and things happen with people. So, well, I would rather it be with somebody that I care about, that I
Yeah.
now can help through this scenario and maybe even make things better, than somebody that I don't know. It blindsides me, and now I'm screwed, right?
Yeah, and I think that comes down to like how you're running your business. So obviously the size of the business, the type of business, all of that, plays a part of it. But the same thing is if you don't have the proper systems in place in your business to be able to accommodate for a situation like that, then you're not in a good place as a business owner. Like you don't have a business, you have a
Yeah.
job at that point.
No.
And that's okay if that's what you want, but just understand the risks that come with it. If you want a business that if your partner decides I have to step away, or hey, my kid is like super sick and like in the hospital and like fighting for his life or whatever, I need to step away and deal with this. Like, you obviously are going to be like, oh yeah, that's like, I feel like that's like my niece or my nephew, right? Like, that's family. Go take
Yep.
care of them. I'll do everything that I can. But if you are able to have a little bit of foresight and build the systems in place to where if that does happen, that it's no skin off the back, and be like, hey, you know what? You're still going to get paid. Go take care of your kid. I'll run the business because we have the right systems in place. That's a much better place to be than just being trying to, flail and come up with something at the last minute when those situations arise.
Yeah, well, I mean, that goes into another topic that comes up quite often, which is systems versus people, right? If
Yeah.
you need a certain person because that person, I don't know, they've created all this complicated way of doing business that there's no one that can jump in there and do that, then
Yeah.
you're in rough shape, right? For
Yeah.
that exact reason. Whereas if there's systems in place for everything where, okay, I'm not saying that anybody can do it. I mean, there would have to be a certain skill level, and you want good people. But
Yeah.
I mean, there are very few businesses, I would think, that would be dependent on a specific person. if it was system oriented. I mean, there would be lots of
Correct.
people that would have similar skills and attitude or whatever it is
Yeah.
that could jump in and fill that, right? Am I right on that?
Yeah, exactly. It's funny because when you're a business owner and you have people that are critical to the business, one, you should be taking care of them as best as you possibly can.
Totally.
Make sure that they're taken care of. There's loyalty and everything. I'll give an example. We have a couple VAs that we use, a couple video editors, and then a personal assistant for me. And they are absolutely critical to our business. Our video editor, he was full time. Recently, his father passed away, and he's like, "Hey, I need to take some time off. Is there any way that I could, work some extra hours when I get back, so that way I can make up for, the time off?" Because he's a contract, he doesn't get PTO. But then also, he's like, I gotta, financially take care of the family for my father's funeral and all that. Um, Immediately, I was just like, no, you don't need to. You're gonna get paid, even though you have the time off. Just let me know when you expect to come back. I'll have some, like, I will personally cover for you while you're gone. And then also, I'm sending you some extra money to help with kind of funeral arrangements.
Wow.
We can do that as a business. Like, why wouldn't we do that? Why wouldn't we take care of our people? Like, he was our sole video editor at the time. He brings in a lot of revenue for the company. There's a good profit margin for what he does. Like, why wouldn't I take care of him in a time where his family needs it? I've never met the guy. He's worked virtually for me the whole time, but like, I'm going to do that. Uh, but that is the thought, though, that like, if someone does have to step away for whatever reason, whether it be an act of God or they just decide to leave, like, you have to have a system in place. You have to have backups ready because it's going to happen. It's not a uh, if, it's a when, and being prepared for that is absolutely crucial.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's awesome. So I see a nice jam room behind you. This looks like a great looking office here. Tell me
Yeah.
about how this came about.
Yeah. So, I originally, so my wife works from home. She has a flower farm. So she is constantly home. She also homeschools both my girls. So there is four people and a dog in our house at all times, running through, making noise, doing all kinds of things, which is great. I absolutely love that. It was a huge goal of ours that we could all work from home, do schooling from home, and have a sense of individualism, personal responsibility, and not relying on other people, right? But I had my office upstairs. There was no doors to the office. It was kind of like in this old room that used to be a dining room, and trying to do podcasts or meetings with high value clients, and my kids are running through and screaming, or they're trying to watch TV in the room next to me. It was very difficult. So earlier this year, we decided to renovate the basement. We built out a room for me specifically, and then that's kind of where I'm sitting now. Nice closed off space. I am in a basement. It does feel like a dungeon on most days. There's a small little window up there, so I get a little bit of sunlight here and there. But I'm also in Michigan, so during the winter when it's completely gray outside, it's just dark in here all the time.
Oh,
So I
wow.
have to kind of get out and go get some sun, touch grass. But for the most part, I really enjoy my room in here, and it's been great.
Wow. Well, so now, like, not everybody has the ability to create a nice, good office in their house, like especially when they're first getting started. So, can you tell me, like, what was the reaction from your clients when you did have the dogs and the kids running through? Like, was that hurting your business?
Surprisingly, no. And I think it's because of what happened with COVID and everybody working from home that it just became such a normal thing.
Mm,
I think it'd be very different if this was 2018, 2019, and I had that happening. They would be like, man, this just like, seems sloppy.
yeah.
But I think with COVID happening and everyone working from home, a new level of understanding of what the integration of life and business is, and how messy it can be, made a lot of difference. I mean, one of our largest clients, I'd be in meetings with them and my kid would just come up and start talking to me like in the middle of my meeting. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I can't talk to you. I'm so sorry. And they would smile and they think it's the cutest thing. My kids are really cute. So that was helpful. Thank their mom for that. But it was really cool to see though that level of understanding from our clients. And sometimes it actually helped a lot, where it kind of, lightened the mood. If there was, if we were going through like reports or something that, didn't look great or whatever, it was good, but it was extremely distracting.
Yeah.
So now that I've found a spot where I can be in, it's been helpful.
Yeah, you should have like cued them. Hey, we're having a tough conversation, so you just stay there. I'll give you the nod when you can come in.
Yeah. Yeah, just come in
Yeah.
and snuggle with me in the chair, and then like they can't yell at me when you're sitting there in my lap. Yeah.
I got some bad news for you. Oh, just oh, sorry about that.
Oh, this is
Yeah,
my daughter, I
yeah,
feed her and take care of her. Look how cute she is. Yeah.
yeah. But I mean, I wanted to go through that because I think there are like it's important for people to realize that's not an excuse. You know, if you like you're
Yep.
looking to create a business and you're thinking, but I don't really have any space. You know, there are kids running around. I can't do that. Well, it doesn't necessarily hurt you because, like you said earlier, right? People like to do business with people.
Hmm.
And when someone's family is you can see the family, you can see the stuff going on in the background. It actually creates a stronger connection. Now they
Yep.
can they can see, okay, well, this is the guy I'm doing business with. They I think it would not only does it help in partnerships, but it also helps with clients as well. People like to do business with people, so it's not really something
Yep.
that can hold you back. You're right, extremely distracting, probably not as productive, right, for you.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the client's perspective, it's not that huge of a bad thing, right?
No, and I think that something our agency focuses very heavily on is relationship building with our clients. We're not your typical marketing agency where we come, you say like, "Hey, I want some ads." And we're like, "Great, we'll run ads for you. Here's the price, and I'll check in with you in a month." A lot of them have my cell phone number. A lot of them text me or call me, leave voicemails if I can't answer. Um, I'm, texting jokes back and forth between them, GIFs and things like that. Like there's a relationship that's been built with all of our clients that is like, hey, we are two real people, real individuals. Yes, we are like I'm a vendor for your company,
Yeah.
but we focus on integrating ourselves in a way of like actually helping them build marketing systems, not just doing fulfillment for them. So it's actually getting into their business. We offer a fractional CMO position as well, where we actually meet with them every 2 weeks. We go through KPIs regularly. I have logins to their CRM systems. I have logins to their tracking systems, and I'm pulling reports for them and like building, full scale reports, return on ad spend reports, and delivering that, presenting that to them in a meeting as if I am their chief marketing officer. We have a couple, one or two guys on our team that do that. So that level of integration builds a different type of relationship inside of this vendor business relationship that we have, to where it's not just service provider, but you're actually invested in the growth of their business. And I tell my clients that I was like, look, I make more money when you make more money. So I have a huge incentive to make you more money. So
Yeah.
we're on the same page here. If you make a ton of money from Google Ads and then you're like, hey, I want to spend more on Google Ads, great. I make more money if you spend more money in Google Ads. But at the same time, I also want you to be very efficient. So not only when you spend more money, that you're also trying to lower your cost per your acquisition of new clients. So that way you make more of a profit margin. You make more money, then you're like, man, this marketing guy's great. I want to spend more in marketing and then I can make more money. And
Wow.
I'm very open with them about that and understanding like kind of that dynamic and being real with people and integrating systems. We have clients that have been with us for years. And that's pretty unusual for most marketing agencies. Usually marketing agencies is a 6 to 12 month turnover.
You're right.
I had one of our clients that had 11 marketing agencies in 7 years. So, but
Wow.
he's been with us for almost 2 years now. This is the longest he's ever had a relationship with an agency because I have a personal relationship built with him, along with kind of our business relationship. And that's kind of helped with the longevity of our client.
Love that. So it's time for your guest solo. Tell me what's exciting in your business right now.
Oh man, we're really dipping our toes pretty heavily in programming and AI agents. So taking a lot of what's going on right now with AI and building systems internally that if something happens and someone is MIA for whatever reason, we have a backup plan. We have, I've always seen AI as a tool to enhance your employees, not as something to replace them. So we actually are working on something right now. It's an internal AI assistant essentially for our agency to where we can have entry level marketers actually come in and have more opportunity because even if they don't have the background, they're following the system and they're able to have the safety net of their project manager to ensure that everything that they're building and doing is correct. So it's kind of like an on the job training with near impossible percentage of failure because everything has a backup and a system stop if something doesn't look right, both from an AI perspective and the human element. So I know that I can have more entry level positions available, but I can still have the same level, if not a better level of quality of content and relationship for our clients.
Wow, I love that. So how do we find out more?
So the AI agent stuff is something that we may offer in the future. For right now, it's just internally. But if you want to learn more about kind of like our agency and what we do, our website's aspbranding.com. You check it out there. We have, again, we work mainly with law firms and home service professionals. We do work with a lot of local service businesses, small and medium. Some e-com experience as well. So it just kind of depends if, you're one of your listeners, is interested in marketing, they can reach out at info@aspbranding.com.
Okay. And so is there a specific size of business that would be better suited for working with you?
So it just depends on the industry. Home service professionals, we mainly work with those making or starting around $1 million in revenue a year. Typically, there are revenue thresholds that we found to be the hindrance of growth. It's 1, 3, and 5 million are kind of those barriers that home service businesses usually hit and they can't seem to get past. So we have systems for all three of those. But we've worked with startups as well. So it just kind of depends on kind of what your funding looks like and how aggressive you want to be.
Okay. So Joel, I got the hardest question of the day. Who's your favorite
Okay.
rock star?
Oh man, that is going to be a really tough one. Um, I don't know that I have a favorite, but I've met quite a few, and I would say Alice Cooper. Everything they say about like when you meet him that he's the nicest guy is 100% true. Like him and his wife were the sweetest people that I think I've ever met in my life, which is not what you expect from the theatrics and stuff from kind of
Yeah.
his shows and things like that. But he is an absolutely beautiful human being.
Wow. Do you know it's funny that I've heard that about a lot of the sort of the harder rock or the harder like metal people, they're all like teddy bears when you
Yeah,
talk to them. And then on the other hand, you get sort of like the easy listening people that are just total not good people.
yeah,
It's interesting how that dynamic works, right? It's like the heavier stuff is nice people. I don't know. It's odd.
yeah, yeah. Some of
So
them are super quirky too.
how did you meet Alice?
So I was one of the companies I was working for. We actually did a small acoustic event for Jack White in the Birdie Room at the Shinola Hotel in downtown Detroit. So I got to do an A1 position, which is the main audio engineer for Jack White, as well as kind of help with the stagehand. He had some guys come down from his record company that's down the street because I wanted them to do a sound check with the guitar that Jack would actually be using, so I can kind of dial it in and get everything ready before the acoustic set. And they brought down like this like entry level Fender acoustic electric, and I was like, "There's no way this is what Jack White's using. This is like a $150 guitar." We tested it, got it checked in, and then when he came, he had some like super old beat up Martin that he was playing, and the input jack didn't work half the time. So that was extremely stressful because I'm like, this is my moment. I bass was one of the first instruments I picked up, like Seven Nation Army, like the most iconic bass line.
Yeah.
So I was like, I can't screw this up. And he plugged it in and it wasn't working. And I was like, oh my God. Like I was so stressed out. I had
Oh
three other
no.
people that were helping me. So I ran up and I was like checking the DI box and trying to figure it all out. And he's like, "No, it's fine. It's my acoustic. Like this is just what happens." And I was like, "Okay, if you're fine with it, but I also look ridiculous to all these people that are very wealthy that are here. So
Uh-huh.
like I'm running ragged trying to figure this out. But come to find out, this is actually one of his quirks is he likes using instruments and equipment that don't always function properly. He sees it as a challenge to the music, and that's kind of like his like thing that he really enjoys doing. He likes having a challenging time playing the music. So I don't know. I didn't enjoy it personally,
No.
but it was one of those things that was kind of like uh, just a weird situation. But we did
Absolutely.
it, and once he got started, everything worked fine, and the set was great, and they were super happy with it. So
Wow. That is such a cool story. Right on. Well, thank you so much for rocking out with me today, Joel. This has been a lot of fun.
yeah, I had a lot of fun too. Thanks for having me on, Tim.
Right on. To the listeners, make sure you subscribe, rate, and comment. We'll see you next time with the Work at Home Rockstar podcast. And for more information, you can go to workathomerockstar.com.